Going through this week's Prog and this month's Meg, I was really struck by themes in there which kind of quite timely because the new series of Andor is starting, and
Ugh.
so it turns out that Chloe has opinions. Who knew?
No, I don't even really have opinions. I just do not give a fuck about Star Wars. I just don't. I can't. I won't. I can't.
So this week on In Orbit every Wednesday, there are going to be some spicy opinions, clearly. As we dive into the program, Meg, this is In Orbit every Wednesday. Earthlets, welcome.
Get 2000 AD now. Get 2000.
Borak Earthlets, welcome to In Orbit every Wednesday. I am your host, Molch-R, and this is your host, Chloe. And we are back for another half an hour of thrill-powered chat about 2000 AD. I realised that over the past few weeks, we've kind of let the prog and the Meg kind of slide a little bit as we've gone off very quickly to explore whatever theme that we want to talk about, and we had Megan Huang on the other week as well to talk about Ghosted. So I thought we'd bring it back home. We'd bring it back to the core focus and talk about what we think of the prog and the Meg.
We've been having so much fun talking about like the 2000 AD in a broad sense that we have forgotten to narrow it back down. So
Yeah. But thank you for all the feedback on the last few episodes, Earthlets, and for all your suggestions for 2000 AD playlists. If you've not listened to last week's episode where we go into the history of 2000 AD and music, you can check out the link for our Spotify playlist as selected. And I'm absolutely putting this on you. Like, I'm not accepting any responsibility for this whatsoever.
I'll
Song
take it.
chosen by Chloe. So if you've got a problem, she's the one to talk to, not me.
Absolutely. Please do come talk to me about music. Let's disagree. I'm very excited about it also, but I will only tolerate so much because as I told Molch-R, there are also some record cover designs that I did because I was completely jacked up on caffeine in the middle of the night and stayed up until 4 a.m. just like photoshopping record covers together for these mixes. So actually don't come for me because I'm underslept. And unless you're coming to say that One Step Beyond was actually the perfect choice for Zombo, I don't want to hear it. Do not come for me. Okay.
Check out the playlist, Earthlets. Tell us what you think. Keep the suggestions coming. It's a very entertaining one so far.
It's
But yeah,
so good. It's so much fun seeing people's feedback every week. That's like one thing that I'm really I look forward to every week is seeing what people have to say.
And seeing the I mean, massive increase in the comments we're getting on YouTube and on social media and everything. It's been really lovely to see.
Engagement.
Exactly. It's I crave it.
It's good.
But yeah, I do keep coming with it. We are very happy that you're enjoying the show, which kind of makes Chloe's lack of sleep and my anxiety levels worth it. It's
I like that people keep bringing up that you and I have a great dynamic. We have a great dynamic, Mike.
Let's call it that. Let's call it that.
It's high energy and low energy, and somewhere we break even, and something good happens.
I you know what I was thinking the other day about how I asked you to be the co-host on this at Rose City Comic Con last year in Portland. And I'd come over to Bisley's table to talk to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you, and you said yes. And then Graham McMillan, your partner, after you had left, went, Oh, that's great. Are you sure?
Did he really?
And he meant it very lovingly, like, absolutely. But he was just like, "Are you sure this force of
What?
nature is something that you can contain?"
What
I'm
a
like, "Yeah,
kid.
yeah."
I mean, look,
Yeah.
it's you know what? No, I'm just gonna quietly simmer in that one. That's pretty terrible. That was one of those things where I think I accepted very, very gracefully, but inside I was like, I've been waiting for this for years. So, and now here we are.
Here we are. Here we are. Multiple episodes in, multiple months in. Who
I
who
know.
who would have guessed? Certainly not me.
But now that we've established that things are going well, ha ha ha, ha, then we can actually talk about the thing that makes this work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's a Prog Day. Happy Prog Day, everybody.
Prog Day.
I had to cut out the bit of last week's episode where I gave the wrong prog number.
That happens so often.
It
I wish.
happens more than it should, if
I
I'm
think
honest
you
with
should.
you.
I think that you should keep them, and we'll do an end of the year episode where we just have a compilation of all the things that we fucked up while recording.
It's 4 hours long. Happy Christmas, Earthling. But yeah, it's Prog 2430.
Yes,
I'm
that's
gonna.
correct.
Is it? Is it
It
definitely
is.
correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, 2430. Great. And the Meg this month is 479. And I'm kind of conscious that we've had a couple of episodes where we've not talked about the Meg, so
Yes.
talk about it this time. In the prog this week, it's really things ending, things beginning.
Mhm.
So I kind of think it's perfect opportunity to kind of reflect on the last few weeks. So we've got Judge Dredd Blitzers, Chimpski's Law, The Truth Conundrum, both of which are ending. Silver, Perfidious continues, Ghosted continues, and the new Rogue Trooper story, Tides of War, is on its second episode. Plus, there's a couple of new things in the Meg, which we'll come on to in a minute. And I wanted to talk about the Dredd and the Chimpski, because it's been really nice to have two stories that are, began together as a pair, and are now ending together. And the reason I brought Andor up at the beginning of the episode is because that's very much a kind of resistance narrative. And in Blitzers and in Chimpski, this is for me the kind of story that Dredd and by extension Chimpski are perfect to tell right now at this point in time, where it's stories of ordinary people and they're different versions of resistance to Justice Department and to the judges. Because with the Blitzers, you basically got people who are using violence in their own way. But with Chimpski, there of course there is violence, but and again, spoilers, Earthlets. If you've not read this week's Prog, do it before listening to In Orbit every Wednesday. But in Chimpski, it's very much, he chooses non-violence. He chooses not to pick up the weapon of his enemy, and it's so nice to see those two stories dovetail in different ways.
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying Blitzers a lot. Because it's just such a good concept to see expanded out and explored. And I always worry about talking so much in depth about like the politics of things going on in Mega City 1 in these stories, because you do kind of run the risk of going into a pretty heavy political discussion. But like, I'm enjoying that one in particular just because I'm enjoying seeing the violence being used very specifically as a tactic, but having longer term consequences that are very sci-fi and are very very unique, like as a kind of as a metaphor, but also in this case, very literally. Yeah, it's interesting to see radical violence that is both extraordinarily harmful and also effective.
Because that's the thing about Chimpski is as a symbol of resistance within Mega City 1, he's very much great. And Ken Nyman,
Ken Nyman doing the most right now.
Well, absolutely, and it's something that thinking back to when Tom Holland took over as Spider-Man, and there was
what? Where you go? Where are you going?
I got his name. It was Tom Holland, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm just like, where are you going, dude?
Early on in his tenure as Spider, they moved away from this fairly quickly. But there was that kind of he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Mhm.
And they really kind of stressed that thing, like, yes, absolutely. There's, you've got the Avengers off doing all these massive things, but really, Spider-Man should work best when he's protecting his community. And
Yes.
Chimpski, I think, is Ken's kind of cheeky take on that kind of local hero kind of thing, where and Chimpsky's talked about this in previous stories, where he's very much, I need to look after my own, and I need to do it in a way that doesn't rain down violence upon them.
Yeah.
Because as Blitzers shows, when you choose violence against a violent system, that system will be even more violent toward, like it will come down on you like an absolute ton of bricks, because it wishes to monopolize violence. So actually the real resistance that will work in the long term is not violence in of itself, but picking away at the corners, the fraying edges of authority, and it's a theme that chimes. We're rewatching season 1 of Andor to get ready for the second season, and there's a bit in there talking about how it's not about like one big battle against an authoritarian tyranny, because that's playing it on its own ground. So you chew away at the edges because it's brittle and it frays, and that's the problem with authority, is that it is always vulnerable. It is not strength, it's not security, it's vulnerability. It's the expression of vulnerability. So it's really nice to see how that. And I want to talk about the art, because you've got PJ Holden on Chimpski and Dan Cornwell on Blitzers, and that's a really great pairing, in that they're both people clearly very heavily influenced by classic Dredd, and have I always hesitate to use this word, a slightly more cartoony style in they have an expressive style, let's put it that way.
Oh, I don't think cartoony should ever be considered an insult.
Well, it's not that it's an insult, it's that it's just not expressive enough. It's applied to so many different styles that actually the word, for
like,
me, doesn't
reductive.
have enough meaning.
Okay.
And I fear it's a bit reductionist. But two artists absolutely complementing one another on Ken Nyman stories, and a shout out to Jack Davies and who is it? Dylan Teague, who are the colorists. Sorry, for some reason, the designer, and I'm going to have a word with them about this, the designer has put the credit box on its side on the Dredd, and I was just like, what? Am I having a stroke? Because there's always a threat in these episodes.
I love Dylan Teague's coloring. I really, really love it.
He's great, isn't he?
It's unfair that there are particular people that have such a gift for coloring in general, like just having good color sense, and why is it look so easy? That's extraordinarily unfair. And Dylan Teague is 100% one of those people.
Yeah, and it always reminds me very much, and this is 100% 2000 AD brain, but his color palette always reminds me of Arthur Ranson.
Yes.
It's
That's
new,
exactly it.
you know.
Yes.
But then by contrast, Jack Davies is much brighter,
Mhm.
much more kind of madcap, and that suits PJ's work a little bit better. And then you go straight into Silver,
Which
with
is very, which is so much more understated.
with Joe Curry, and really loving this series of Silver. I mean, the action sequences in themselves are just fantastic, and sci-fi vampires. It's like
I've always there's a reoccurring theme with me apparently where I love multiple pages of comics where nothing is being said but there are sounds and there's things happening. Like
yeah.
I think I just have a thing for like the onomatopoeia of everything, and that's all I really want is pretty pictures and sounds. And so like the first what is it? I think like 2 pages of Silver give me what I need. It's
Well,
like
a fantastic selection of sound effects.
no.
Boom, bracka bracka bracka, which is
Yeah.
a personal favorite. Vadoom
Yeah.
and thunch for somebody landing heavily.
Thunch.
Thunch.
Oh, who doesn't love a thunch? Yeah,
And
but it's like I think it's such a good it's almost a warm up, if that makes sense. Like, especially in a strip that does have a lot of drama, a lot of action, having these pages where you're not immediately smacked in the face with the story as a verbal narrative, but in or as a like you get what I'm trying to say. The but um as you would as a story would start to exist in the real world, which is just things happening, and there are things that you can hear because there are things happening. I don't know. I think I want my immersive experience. I want my toes dipped in the water before you hit me in the face with the sci-fi vampires. So, good job, everybody. Thank you for for giving
well,
that to me specifically.
um, Ghosted continues with the do listen to the interview with Megan Huang that we had a couple of weeks ago. With
Bless her
with
Canadian socks. I haven't talked about fine Fifth Element that much with another adult in so long.
It's great stuff. It's great stuff. And Andy Ewington and Paul Marshall on Road Trooper Tides of War, which is it's interesting to have Rogue as a consistent presence in the
Mhm.
prog, which obviously has not happened for many years.
And what a
And
breath of fresh air,
well,
It's
exactly and we're gearing up to the movie, which
Mhm.
is coming out next year. And the contrasting the Rogue Trooper stories with the New Earth War stories
Mhm.
that Gordon Rennie has been doing is really nice. It's like just reestablishing New Earth as a place where you can tell lots of different stories.
Yeah, it is nice that it's not one mono thing
Mm.
continually. It is a little bit of a switch. It makes everything seem a little bit bigger, which
Yeah.
is great when you want to, really get people diving into the world more, and especially gearing up for a movie, to be perfectly honest. Like, you're setting people up for success when it comes to kind of diving headfirst into a world that they might not be familiar with. So,
And I think often sometimes you see comments from people going, "Oh, just pick up the classic stuff," and I go, "Yeah, absolutely. It's
oh,
great,
yeah, well,
fantastic."
please do.
But
My God. But
but but a lot of people, a lot of comic book readers, um, find that intimidating.
it's also a very different read.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
it's a very different feel, it's a very different vibe, and just, like, the whole of how comic stories were kind of constructed, was just a different feel entirely. So yeah, like classic Rogue is like, it's some of my favorites, some of the best. And these new things are also so integral to keeping that relevant.
Yeah.
Because it is an update and it does have this rich new sort of feel to it that isn't exactly like that, but that makes this even more important. So
Yeah.
it's a good balance.
Absolutely. And it's also important to remember, and I've seen this brought up many times, consuming those classic stories in a collected edition is a different experience to getting a new episode each week.
Yeah.
And so much of the experience of reading 2000 AD has always been, for me, and I'm sure for others, the complete package that you're switching between stories as you're going through it, and reading the editorial stuff and seeing what else is in there. So it's a different experience. So having new stories that can introduce this great world to new readers is fantastic. But we'll move on to talk about the Meg, because like I said, I'm conscious that we
gotta touch on the Meg. We have to.
We kind of glossed over it. So this is the slightly slimmed down magazine. Unfortunately, the world has meant that we've had to reduce a bunch of pages, remove a bunch of pages from the Meg. But the commitment, as we said to subscribers when we did it, is very much to stay focused on new comics.
Yeah.
And even with the reprint of John Wagner and Dan Cornwell's Rock of the Reds, for the vast, I mean, that's new to me.
Yeah. The Rock of the Red stuff is new to you?
Yeah. Well, so I have.
How much are you loving it?
I have the graphic novels sat on my shelf. Like, I backed the Kickstarter and everything. I just never got around to reading it, much to my shame. So this is all new. And kudos to John Wagner,
right?
for making a sports strip something that I want to read.
Right? But it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and it's a good sports strip.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good football strip. and it's still, like, it's still sci-fi, and it's still, it has that classic John Wagner humor. And it's like, I was skeptical when I first got a chance to read any of the Rock of the Red stuff. I was skeptical of it because I was like, I don't know, like, sports strips have always been hit or miss for me. And I'm like, but it's John Wagner. So, and my God, yeah, no, that is absolutely what made the difference. I'm like, how dare I have doubted, you know? So anybody who doesn't think that they like sports strips, please pick up a copy of the Meg and start dip your toes in the water of the magazine and with John Wagner, just having a good time doing Rock of the Reds. It's fun.
As someone who loved Doomlord,
Yes,
from Eagle, which I really wish we could reprint, but unfortunately it's not part of our archive. This is giving me what I crave. Like, I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast. Like, one of my favorite moments in Doomlord is when a couple of Doomlords are going after our hero, and they send out this telepathic signal going, if you don't reveal yourself, we will incinerate Leeds. And it's just them on a rooftop in Leeds, just waiting. And he goes, he basically goes, oh, I can't let them, destroy an entire city. So he reveals himself, and there's this one panel where one of them turns to the other, and one of them goes, what of Leeds? And the other one goes, later for Leeds. And I just, the combination of dialogue, weird parochialism, and just the intersection of like sci-fi and the real world, it was like catnip for me as a kid. It was just wonderful, and even stuff like the Dracula Files, where it's
Yeah,
what if Dracula came to Britain during the Cold War kind of thing.
it's there. A lot of the strips that you see really are little what ifs, and I know that that's kind of like a core tenet of sci-fi to begin with. But I feel like British sci-fi in particular takes on a very very specific what if, because it's always something that is either completely innocuous or like something something that is extremely dire and underplayed. Like,
And also with British sci-fi, and this comes back to the conversation we were having with
yeah,
Jonathan about Atomfall, which continues in the magazine, which is that an awful lot of British sci-fi is quite inward looking in that it
yeah,
sees, it's talking about Britain, but within that tiny island, you can pretty much tell any story you want, and also you can make pretty much any point you want. But by connecting it to real places, connecting it to a, a small place, I think gives stories just a bit more depth. It just
yeah,
feels a bit more connected to something, tethered to something. And what's always interesting is Armitage is back in this magazine as well with a new story by Liam Johnson and Warren Please. And they are playing around with storytelling form. You've got 3 pages of 9-panel grids, which is
mhm,
individual characters being interrogated,
yeah,
and that's interesting. Because that's Armitage was originally based on what if Inspector Morse was in the world of Judge Dredd.
yeah. Well, it's funny because you don't see a lot of 9-panel gridding in British comics. It
No.
just doesn't happen. Um, so I was kind of like, oh, hello. But also it's funny that those pages are so, I don't want to say simplistic because that is very, very reductive, I feel, to say, but it's funny that it is essentially just those characters being interviewed, because it does force you to focus in on these individual characters. So while it is not the big bombastic action that people tend to be used to when reading something in a 2000 AD story, it does give you that focus that you need, and that the characters deserve in order to make the story that follows it all the more engaging. So,
Yeah, absolutely. But I do have one question.
oh god,
What are your feeling on pirates?
I love pirates. Who doesn't love pirates? What kind of question is that? Who do you think I am?
I love it. When you lean into the camera, you move away from the mic. So even though you're closer, you sound further away. That's amazing. But no, I only asked because Barrel and Hammer, which is the new David Barnett and Luke Horsman series, begins in this Meg with
And
the
it's fun.
excellently titled story Booty Call.
Yes.
Thank you, David.
Beautiful. No notes.
I mean, I'll be honest. The kind of pirates in fiction are something I never really got on with, mainly because I think my first.
Because we come back to you hating joy? Like we're
I mean, there is that absolutely, and burn the world to the ground and salt the earth. But I think the main problem is that my first real exposure to fictional pirates was Blackbeard's Ghost, the Peter Ustinov Disney film.
okay.
So any pirate ever since, whether played straight or for comedy, in my head is competing against Peter Ustinov playing an incredible drunk. Like nobody played drunk as well as Peter Ustinov, and he did it in a children's film.
Yes. I
I've rendered you silent by that.
you kind of have, actually. It's not really so who thinks of that on a regular basis? And so I'm like, "Oh, no, that's true. What a certainly a choice." I don't blame you then, that's a terrible you know what shaped me? You know what pirate story shaped me?
Oh, no.
Dustin Hoffman being the most camp drag queen Captain Hook in the entire universe. Ah. It's in Hook. I don't give a shit about Robin Williams and his wholesomeness in that movie. I just wanna watch Dustin Hoffman be a queen the entire time, 'cause that is what he's doing. Anyway, we have to talk about the comic and not about
We have
our
moved away
favorite
from
pirate.
the core purpose of this podcast. But yes, Barrel and Hammer episode number 1, nice setup, space pirates, lots of excellent kind of cartoonish action, and far too many puns, David. Stop puns. Puns
No,
are bad.
keep them up. You have to pick one of us, choose wisely. The,
But yeah,
it's just it's silly and it's fun. And you know what? I know that you said that you see the term as reductive, but cartoony artwork, I'm here for this one. I'm here for it so hard because it works. It works with the writing so beautifully and it helps set the tone with all the bright colors and everything. It's a good time. It's a good read and it feels like um it's bordering on the kind of all ages that I can get down with, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, talking about the all ages stuff, we got Cadet Dredd with the Haunted of ISO Block 8 beginning in this with Paul Starkey and Nick Brokenshire, and you know what I find interesting about that is it's harking back to the Haunting of Sector House 9. Back in the kind of first golden age of Dredd, and again, cartoony, for want of a better phrase, artwork, but with a different energy to Barrel and Hammer.
It is a very different energy. I don't even wanna say it's more serious, because I can't actually think of a term to describe, like, the vibe shift. It's
Yeah.
really difficult, but it does feel in that same all ages vein. It's slightly more serious without it doesn't take itself seriously, but it is seriously presented.
Yeah.
That's
No,
as close
absolutely.
as I can get to making sense.
And we kind of come back to it. We've harped on about this quite a lot in this
Yay.
show. But is the sheer breadth of stories that we've not even talked about everything.
Yeah.
The sheer difference and breadth of stories. And I do want to give a shout out to Simon Davis's cover
Yes,
for
please.
2430, because that is like you can't see. I'm very fortunate to have one of Simon's Slain covers on my wall just out of camera shot, which I'm very proud of. But
If I
go on.
remember correctly, when we were making sure that we had everything that we needed for the episode, you looked at the cover and said, "Oh, it's a corker."
I can always be relied upon in any situation to sound as if I'm from the 1930s. One of these days, I'm going to accidentally say and sincerely say Gadzooks or
Yes.
something like that, just to go back even further back
Gadzooks.
in time. Well, we've hit half an hour, thank you, Earthlets. We've rambled on with this one.
We weren't expecting to ramble on, and
No,
then Mike this is what happens every time. We're just here for the good time, Mike. We're here for the good time. We don't mean to. We just
and,
come out this way.
and the opinions expressed were less spicy than I was expecting.
That's because you didn't let me talk about what I wanted to, but
Still, no. There will be consequences if you do.
I know.
We could probably do like a portraying like cut of the podcast with like all the stuff we talk about before we even hit play.
Oh, we really should. That would be funny.
Yeah, it
be
would certainly get me fired quite quickly. They said what? But yes, Earthlets, let us know what you think about Prog 2430 and Meg 479 in the comments. What do you think about the current slew of stories?
Do you think cartoony is a reductive term? I think
this is the great debate that we need to have. Is cartoony a useful word to describe things, or is it reductive? You let us know in the comments, Earthlets.
Again, choose wisely.
There will be Rigelian hotshots dispensed for those with incorrect opinions. But yeah, we're going to be back in 7 days' time, Earthlets. Subscribe to 2000 AD, and then you'll actually know what we're talking about. Every single
that'd
week.
be nice.
You can subscribe.
Imagine listening to this podcast and not having read any of it. Can you imagine?
Oh, this is the inside of an asylum, surely.
My grandmother tried watching one of our episodes. My 81-year-old grandmother tried watching one of our episodes, and she was just like, I had no idea what you were talking about, but you are so fun together.
I had exactly the same from my manager Dan. He went to he's not a comics guy, he's a games guy, and at Rebellion, and he went to I listened to an episode, really entertaining. Hadn't got a clue what you were talking about. Which I feel is like our sweet spot. I didn't know what you were talking about, but it was very entertaining. And
it's what really matters.
It just takes me back when I was a theatre student at university.
Oh my God, this is like the third time you've brought this up, and it never fails to make me laugh.
But we did a very serious production of Bertolt Brecht's Man Equals Man, which is very, very serious play. And we did it in a proper theatre, and my whole family came up to watch. And I after we were done, I bounded out into the foyer, and my parents and my sister were like, really enjoyed it. Well done, you. And my 75-year-old grandmother turned to me and she went, I hadn't got a clue what it was about, but you were very good.
Big gran energy is what we're getting at here.
I think
don't be a gran. Subscribe to 2000 AD.
We have to go before this truly degenerates into just insanity. Thank you very much for bearing with us, Earthlets, as we continue to say things out loud and then record them. We shall see you in 7 days' time. I have been your host, Molch-R. Chloe's final words are...
Bye.
And until next time, Splendid Verthrig.
See you next week.
Get 2000 AD now. Get to
Well, thanks for joining us on In Orbit every Wednesday, Earthlets. Make sure you like and subscribe and go along to 2000 AD, where you'll be able to subscribe to 2000 AD and the Judge Dredd Megazine. Sign up to our newsletter and you'll get hundreds of pages of free comics to download. And download the app for your Apple and Android devices. Now, don't forget, Earthlets, this is the 2000 AD universe. We just live in it.